This Week in Blizz is proudly sponsored by DoghouseSystems.com. If you use the code TWIB at checkout, that's TWIB, you will get double memory on your next Doghouse system. We thank DoghouseSystems.com for their support of This Week in Blizz. And also TweakedAudio.com. Go to TweakedAudio.com for high-performance, noise-reducing earbuds. Use our code TWIB to get 30% off plus free shipping on your next order, and support This Week in Blizz in the process.
Armed and ready. Who wants some?
This Week in Blizz.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 67th episode of This Week in Blizz. I'm Garrett Weinzierl.
I'm Ben Seifel.
And I'm Kyle Ferguson.
And this is the show keeping you up to date on the worlds of Blizzard Entertainment. And if this is coming to you later in the week than you might have expected, yes, you're not crazy. The show is usually posted on Tuesday every week. But there was a crazy thunderstorms. I guess Thrall and the shamans of the Earthen Ring saw fit to smite us because they knew bigger news was coming today. So they said, no, wait, guys. Just wait. And it all worked out.
It paid off.
Yeah.
I think. Glad this worked out, guys.
Exactly. This was all planned. We were like, the Diablo announcement is later in the week. Maybe we should wait. But, yeah, anyways, welcome back. Hope you guys all had a good weekend. And I would sit here and I would BS with you guys, ask you how you were doing, how the beginning of your week has been. But I say nay today because there's so much to talk about, beginning with a brand new Blizzard game that some of us have gotten to play. A new bumper, which means the first new segment added to this podcast since its inception. Hearthstone is now in closed beta, and I got a key. Ben, you live near me, so you've been playing on my key. And Kyle, you smell funny.
Aw. I'm still playing with my hobo cards here from being a participant in the original trading card game.
Oh, yes. I actually have some cards from the very first one, too. That's still going. It's just done by a different company,
Yeah, I think it's
Cryptozoic now, I believe.
Yeah, so, I put on some generic music in the background. I make a move. I go, ka-choo, ka-choo, and things like that. And, hey, I'm basically experiencing Hearthstone, right?
Yeah, you got a sweet catchphrase, a little mini desk catapult.
Also, if you go second, Kyle, you need to give yourself a severe bonus over your opponent.
Yep.
Yeah.
You need to win the game, essentially.
Yeah, if you go second, you basically
If you're on the draw, you probably win.
Oh, we tease. It is really, really good, though. Anyways, this past Friday saw the launch of the closed beta of Blizzard's new Hearthstone. So that's out. This is a limited release. It went out to mostly members of the press, and a ton of fan sites, not us, unfortunately, have gotten keys to give away. Blizzard's giving away something like 1,000 keys over the course of the next few weeks via their Facebook. So make sure you head on over to the Hearthstone Facebook and enter in that. It's stupid easy. You give them your Battle.net email, fill out a form, and bam, you're entered. So if you don't have a key, best of luck there. Rest assured, we are trying to get our hand on some keys to give away. Of course, first we have to hook you two up.
That would be good.
You guys kind of need keys. It'd be nice. But nonetheless, I've had a chance to play quite a bit of it. Ben, I think you've actually played even more than me, which is funny.
Probably, yeah.
I may have
I'm
forgotten.
busy running Garrett's ladder ranking.
Actually, he's doing quite well. He's almost a platinum now, right?
I think I'm in platinum.
You're
I'm
in
not sure,
platinum,
but
okay.
I have no metric to measure it by. Right? It might be like, like the only thing I can compare it to is StarCraft, and it's clearly not the same, right?
No,
like
no,
the whole
not at all.
system, the way it works, is not even close. And so I go, I'm doing pretty good, and then I'm going, I have no idea if I'm doing pretty good. I have literally no clue.
Yeah, exactly. But first impressions, this game is insanely polished. I feel like they could release it tomorrow, and no one would really have much to complain about. I mean, obviously, they're testing it for balance sake, much like when StarCraft goes into beta. But it is so insanely polished, I can't get over it. It looks like a finished game.
it's kind of a weird one because I mean, Kyle, you've definitely been watching streams and stuff of it, right? I mean, you have a pretty good notion of what it looks and feels like. It's interesting to me because nobody had any expectations. Nobody's mad about this. You know what I mean? Like, there's no. This is not a sequel to anything. Nobody's like on the forums going, "Oh, what are you doing, Blizzard? You're ruining my fake card game on the computer." Like,
and
everybody's like, "Oh, okay, I guess." You know?
Yeah, and I mean, say what you will. Obviously, some people are going to be like, "Well, it's not as exciting. It's a little card game." But this is kind of a big deal. If you're a Blizzard fan, this is a big deal because we haven't had a new IP from Blizzard.
Okay, let's not pretend it's a new intellectual property, but at least it's a new style of game, right?
Right. I mean, yes, it's Warcraft stuff, but it's unlike anything they've made.
Yeah. I feel like they took the goofy part of Warcraft and they made that into a separate like game.
Yeah, they
which is fun. I'm totally for it.
They took it and ran, and they sealed it in a love letter to Magic the Gathering.
They sure did.
It's great. Now all of us play Magic, so we're going to be coming to this with a little bit of, I don't know, that tainting our view of things. But overall, I'm so impressed. I love this game. I just want it to release because I want to be playing with my girlfriend. I want to be playing with you guys. Here it is. It passed the girlfriend test. I came back from taking a shower, and my girlfriend had commandeered my computer and was playing Hearthstone. She doesn't game very much, like rarely, if at all. So take that as you will.
It's pretty intuitive, but there is some sort of like deeper strategy going on there. Like it's difficult. It's going to be real. I mean, it'll be straight up impossible not to compare it to Magic the Gathering, right? I mean, like that's the baseline. It's been around for 20 plus years. It's what most of the mechanics, if not all of them, have appeared in Magic at some point in time. Like
charge is haste.
Right, exactly. Like they all overlap. Like most of the mechanics function the same. There's a few differences here and there, but frankly, it's not many when you look at like the overall game design. Right.
Right. I think the easiest to kind of peg difference is I think it is much simpler to get into, just to pick up and play.
It's more intuitive.
Yes.
So there's something that I want to talk to you guys about, and part of it is like this is a game that looks like a card game, but was never intended to be a paper cards game. Right? I mean, I'm not wrong there. There's no like Hearthstone set that's going to come out in like paper cards that people can play with.
No, you're absolutely correct.
So it allows them to do a whole bunch of really complex mechanics that would normally be such an incredible pain in the ass to do if you actually had paper cards. But it allows them to do it because it's all automated, right? I mean, it'll pick something at random for you. Like picking something at random out of your hand is kind of difficult.
It's a yeah.
Well, you just hold it up to the other person and let them pick. But no, I get you absolutely. Like when a card says flip a coin, I'm like, what kind of crap is this? I've got to bring coins to this game now?
Yeah, that's how
I mean, we've all very recently competed in the M14 pre-release tournament, and so we know you go to you go to a card tournament and you have your box. Oh crap! All right, I've got dice to use for counters. I've got scrap paper for tokens because I don't have a full token set. And this is great because it handles all of that for you. Which, granted, there's computer versions of Magic that does that as well. I would argue that every video game version of Magic out there is barely made by competent people who know how to program, but they're so rough. They're so rough. But it's great. It's great. I have to say, right off the top of my head, one of the things that I don't think you really could do easily anyway with traditional card games, I love the secret annotation.
Plenty of games have that. I think even Yu-Gi-Oh has that, where you basically just play a face-down card and then like a trigger will just flip it over, right?
Oh, okay. Well, I only play card games that people older than 5 play.
Now, hang on, dude.
But I mean, I think Magic even had some of them.
You were playing Magic the Gathering, and that has morph cards, and it did in the past, and in the past 5 years has had those.
Right. Okay. So there's so many unique mechanics that come out in every Magic set, and there's like 3 or 4 of them a year. So like each set has its own unique mechanics. This has been covered at some point in the past. Okay. But one of the things that I'm talking about is like I have a card that lets me draw 2 random demon cards out of my deck or library or whatever you want to call it, right? So think about that. Like you would have to, if it was paper cards, you would have to first dig out all the ones with a subtype demon, all right? Then you would have to shuffle them all, and then you would have to draw one of them, and then you have to reshuffle all the rest of them back into your library, and then you would have those in your hand, right? I mean, that's like, it's like some legacy decks where they spend like 25 minutes like shuffling cards and, doing crazy things with like crazy combos with them. Like, it's not a practical, easy thing to do, and there's a lot of stuff like that lets you do that. And the other big thing is you can keep track of life totals on creatures, right? I mean, that's a big deal. That would be mind-boggling if you had to do that on paper.
Right. It's great. It definitely has that Blizzard creed of easy to learn, difficult to master. There's already tons of theory crafting sites and entries going up. I read one today that I love that I sent to you guys of Artosis, the very famous caster for StarCraft 2, who's known for his knowledge of strategy, just breaking down his shaman deck. Like, this is what works. This is why it works. This is what I'm looking to improve upon. And I love it. I can't wait to see more of this kind of stuff for Hearthstone. By the way, if you're listening, you're like, oh my God, I want to see that. Head over to the StarCraft Dojo or SC Dojo, or go to thisweekinblizz.com. Check out our show notes. There's a link to it right in there.
Yep.
So, anyways, now that we've had a chance to sit and play with this, let's talk about a lot of the facts. I mean, the rush of things I was wondering about. First up, one of the common things everyone's wondering about is the rarities. It's very much in line with the rarities in World of Warcraft. We have common, rare, epic, and legendary cards.
Yeah, for anybody who's played Warcraft, a lot of this will be very like you'll recognize a lot of it. But the thing about it is that you have to have absolutely no knowledge or understanding of WoW or any other Warcraft game for that matter to be good at this game. Right.
If you do, it's rewarding because you're like, oh, I get that reference. But beyond that, that's about it. I love the raid leader card when I throw him out and he yells, "Handle it." Makes me so happy.
There's I think one of the rares or legendaries is actually Leroy Jenkins.
Does it like kill all of the?
I think it summons whelps.
It summons whelps.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's great.
Mind you, I haven't actually played against it, but I saw it in like one of the deck listings somewhere, the sort of database out there.
I wonder if it's a paladin only card.
That would be funny.
That would be very fun because paladin, as we were talking about off stream, paladin deck seems to really benefit from having lots of guys on the field.
Yeah.
Anyways, so my first thing I was like, how big are the decks? They're 30 cards. Which, if you play Magic, you're like, oh, that's really low, but you don't need to deal with mana cards. There's...
Actually, it's an excellent point. I hadn't thought about that. Right, you're not playing any lands. That's the core component. There's no colors. There's no lands that you're dealing with. You don't get mana screwed.
Right, there's no resource card, if you're talking really generally. So.
You're given a resource at the beginning of each turn. Like, you'll get a mana crystal, right? So turn 1, you get 1 crystal. Turn 2, you get 2 crystals. Turn 3, you get 3 crystals.
Right, up to a maximum of 10. It can't go beyond 10. And if you use mana increasing...
bugs the crap out of me, right?
if you use mana increasing abilities at 10, you get I forget what the card is called, but you get some kind of minimal... Oh, it lets you draw a card if you increase your mana beyond 10.
Which is also very good, yeah. Mm-hmm. So the decks are smaller because of that, and they feel very much like sort of a more constructed deck because like they don't like I've only once come close to milling out my opponent, and that was like an extremely card draw heavy deck, and I killed my opponent that turn anyways. I didn't even get to see the consequences of running out of cards.
Back up, explain milling for new listeners.
Okay, so
people new to card games anyway.
So milling is a mechanic. Well, it's not actually a mechanic, but it's when basically you cause your opponent to either discard or draw enough cards in Magic to the point where their library is empty, and when they go to draw a card at the beginning of their turn with no cards there, they lose the game essentially.
Yeah, and
so the first person. So it's a viable strategy in some formats, but
and I believe in Hearthstone you don't lose automatically, but I do believe you take damage every time you draw and there's no cards.
I think the same thing happens when you have too many cards in hand, correct?
Yes, you can only have 10 cards in your hand at any one time. On the subject of deck building, you can only have 2 of the same card in a deck.
Yeah.
No more. If it's a legendary card, you can only have one copy of a legendary card in your deck. Which these are all very interesting limitations to someone like me who has only really ever played Magic. Yes, I played Pokemon back in the day, but it was mostly just to collect the cards. I hardly ever played any actual games. And I distinctly remember playing against my older cousin at the time. He's like, this is so much like Magic, it's not even funny.
Well, most of those combative dueling card games sort of are, you know what I mean? Like, and that's totally fine too. I mean, obviously you start with 30 health, right? I mean, which seems like a lot, but frankly, it isn't very much. And
These
your average
games seem quick.
Yeah, your average game is pretty fast paced. Like when you see people discussing a control strategy in Hearthstone, it's like like what would be considered an extremely aggro deck in a different game. Like it's super aggressive, the format, and like you're swinging in and well, I mean, okay, that's true in some cases, but like they're not long drawn out games.
Right. Exactly.
Rarely. I mean, I've gotten to a couple of like really slow, dirtly games, but like it's few and far between.
A lot of times it's more because both sides didn't get any finishers in their hands, so you're really just blinking each other.
Yeah,
That's what I've noticed when it's gone really long.
Or just some seriously removal heavy decks that are just kind of stalling out, and they don't draw into an answer. You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of stuff that's like draw 13 cards and win the game, like to finish that off, that whole stalling process, because you just run out of cards and you run out of steam, right? I mean, there's a bunch of good card draw strategies, and some that I feel are a little bit OP, but I'd be curious to see if any of this is retuned as a game.
Yeah. Anyways, so I don't know, Kyle. You're quiet. You're a Magic fan. What do you think of what you've seen so far?
Dudes, you guys are talking about a game that you have played and is going to be free to play in a short amount of time. I'm just gonna wait and see. Like, what am I gonna theorize about here? There's nothing stopping me from getting it day of, and there's no way I'm gonna buy cards or participate in that, because that's like, why would people complain about the auction house and then go buy a pack of cards for this game? That's stupid. You want to actually invest the time, enjoy it for the longevity of it, and get coins and buy the packs. So,
yeah.
Oh man, I disagree with you entirely. I'm gonna buy so many cards.
He's hooked, man.
And enjoy that. But know that every time you lose, it's going to hurt that much more. And every time I lose, I have the safety net of, well, Garrett's just an ass who buys a whole lot of cards.
Well, I mean, like with the way, so there's this thing that are they're daily quests that you can do in the game, and basically they'll be like, win 2 games as a warlock, right? And they'll give you 40 gold coins. And so you can actually buy packs yourself using the in-game currency you've earned. It's quite slow. And like, I think every every 5 wins, you get another 5 gold coins or something like that.
Right.
So there is a way to sort of have access to these boosters without actually paying cash for them.
Which is great. I think this game is brilliantly designed. We could have such a larger discussion, which we frankly don't have time for, about the climate of free-to-play games with the advent of mobile smartphones and all that kind of jazz, and ones that really like suck the soul out of gaming in the way they handle microtransactions, and ones that I think do it right. And I think Hearthstone is one of those games that does it absolutely almost perfect.
You know, one of the things that I think they've achieved quite well is the whole like cracking a new booster effect. Like, it's something that
I get so excited when I earn a deck.
Right? It's like a big deal. Like, you have to go to like a special screen, and then you have to like drag your booster over into the middle of this like ruined circle, right? At which point it will like shake and like quiver, and like lightning will fly everywhere, and then it'll like pop open, and there'll be like 5 cards and all face down.
Yeah.
And then you need to go one by one and turn them over, and there's like a big reveal, right? I mean, it's like the only thing they're missing is that new pack smell. Like If they could implement that somehow, like, and that sort of rustle of like that.
Spritzes out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
If I could have like a little fan that shoots out the smell of fresh cardboard into my nose.
Yep, I need those printer fumes.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I didn't even think about it. But I remember when they announced this at PAX and they showed the card unpacking. Yeah, they talked about it at length. They're like, we really wanted to make this special. And I remember watching it thinking like, dude, you put too much effort into this. And now having played it, I'm just like, I'm so glad they did.
Right. It makes it so much more, like, it makes cracking packs just like, if you've ever played Magic Online, like, and you've opened packs there, it's kind of like, oh, I just threw away some money. Why did I just do that?
Here
Right?
it is.
Same thing happens in the Planeswalkers. Now in the new one, they have the sealed decks, and that just sounds like you're done with your burger. Oh, sweet unlock, dude.
That's a huge difference in like the sort of Blizzard aesthetic of game design. Like the sound design in this. Like I'm not a sound person. I'm totally not like an audiophile, but
It's so good.
it's off the hook. Like it is so satisfying to do. Click a menu button is like, yeah, nailed that menu button.
Katie was trying to. We have a couch in the office, and as you can see behind me if you're watching the VOD, and she's taking a nap, and she's just like, can you turn Hearthstone down a little bit? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm just going through the menus. it's everything about it is just satisfying. I love the Blizzard aesthetic. I hope they make those leather-bound packs. Like, I hope I can buy a prop of that somewhere.
I'm sure
I
you can,
want
I have
it.
no doubt.
It looks so badass. So.
But yeah, it's a very satisfying experience. And my favorite part is probably the variety of game boards and the fact that you get to interact with them. Mm-hmm. I keep finding new things to click on.
Oh, I haven't been clicking around on the boards.
You haven't?
No.
You can do all sorts of stuff. Like,
know that.
okay, you know the one with the catapult?
Yeah.
Okay, you can lift a rock into the catapult and fire the catapult at your opponent.
That's great.
Yeah, they're like you can like splash in the waterfall, and like you can knock the jewel out of the eye of that statue, and you can like cut the vines, and like
Oh, that's so great.
everything that moves in any way you can interact with on the game board.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I love that you can right click on your hero and taunt and emote. That's great because there doesn't seem to be any kind of chat.
Which I am totally fine with. The record.
I am noob. You friggin' noob. This would be like the ugliest game of StarCraft ever. Really fast if it had chat. I hope it stays that way.
Because it's not like people need to be busy microing their stuff. Like they have plenty of time to sit and complain.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which, I gotta say real quick, I am super happy with the way time limitations are implemented.
Yes.
Like that's a very elegant system. Like, yeah.
Right. It leaves you alone for a while, and then when you've taken too long, a fuse appears and starts burning.
Yeah, which puts you straight into panic mode.
Yep. You're just like,
oh god! Attack this thing! Quick, do all the things. Right.
I guess I'm using my mana coin now. There it goes.
Oh! Why did I do that? And then you go, that was a mistake with your little emote.
Yep, that's exactly what I do. The different types of cards, we have minions. These are your creature cards, more or less. They have attack power and health. Only 7 minions can be on the battlefield at one time, and damage to these minions is persistent. If you want to restore health to your minions, you have to heal them. It's not like, say, Magic, where damage resets on your minions every turn.
Right. You deal, you have a minion with 5 health, you deal 3 damage to it, it will have 2 health.
Yep. We have spell cards. These are one-time use cards. Example being Polymorph, which is very popular and so damn strong, which
So OP.
turns any target minion into a 1/1 sheep. Like, oh, here's my 9/9 ogre sheep.
One thing I have to say is what Magic has done very well is to manage removal spells. Like, removal spells are a big deal, and I feel like they're too ubiquitous in this. That's like my one sort of gameplay design complaint. Like, your minions can feel like a real liability. Every class has a board sweeper, right? I mean, like a wrath effect of, like, deal 1 damage to all your opponent's creatures, right? Which is huge. Like, that can completely change the pace of the game. So frequently you invest like 8 mana into something and then spend 1 mana killing it. And it's just kind of like, oh.
Damn.
Okay, I guess. Like, and there's no real way to protect your guys. Like, there's a handful of ways to do it. But one important thing that I've read recently, which is interesting, which is less about like Hearthstone is less about developing your board and then beating your opponent with your developed board state, like Magic is, and it's a lot more about surviving the waves of things that happen.
That's a good way to look at it.
It's like a series of Magic games, essentially. Like, the board state changes dramatically, repeatedly. So it's this kind of, you'll get all your guys out, and then they'll kill them all, or they'll trade all their guys against it, and then you'll almost have this entirely reset thing, and it's about like who can survive those most efficiently.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. There's secrets cards, which we already kind of talked about, and then there's our weapon cards, which essentially are equipped to your hero and make them able to attack, which are very cool. I like how those work.
Pro tip, if you attack a creature, it will deal damage to you.
I lost so many games before I figured that out.
Yep.
It's like, why am I dying so much? And then for whatever reason, I looked and noticed. I was like, oh shit, I should really stop attacking into those creatures that have 5+ attack. Not a good idea. And then the big thing that I think really sets the tone of this game are the hero classes. There's currently 9 hero classes, the 9 original World of Warcraft classes. We have the warrior, the rogue, the mage, the priest, the warlock, paladin, druid, hunter, and shaman. All of which have a unique hero power, which can be used as long as you have the mana.
You can use them once per turn.
Yep.
And they all cost 2 mana.
Yes. So, for example, the paladin has reinforce, which summons a 1/1 Silverhand recruit. So you just put a 1/1 minion on the board.
Right. A warlock can cast life tap, which causes you to take 2 damage, but you get to draw a card.
Yes. So you were saying that you've been messing around with like life gain warlock decks because it allows you to just draw cards as much as you want.
Yeah, what people who aren't familiar with card games severely underestimate as a resource is card advantage. And here, like in Magic, card advantage is a huge one. Like if you get up on your opponent like with a lot more cards than them, or they trade really inefficiently, like if they take 3 cards in their hand to kill one of yours, like you're up a lot. Like you have a lot more threats to deal with. It feels less dramatic than in Magic, but that might just be the games I've experienced. So it's it's difficult to tell.
I would almost say that this game feels much more hectic and
much more fluid, too.
And action filled than a standard game of Magic, unless it's those days where you and I are like rule deck versus rule deck.
Yeah. One thing that we haven't mentioned that's really important, that's a key difference in the mechanics, is that you can attack whatever you want.
Yes. Yes.
You can attack another creature. You can target a creature on a player. You can, barring the only thing that interacts with that in any way is creatures. If your opponent controls a creature with the taunt ability, you have to attack it. You can't attack any other creatures or any other players.
While it's on the board. I love them. I've just been calling them tanks.
Right. That's basically what they are, right? And they perform the function well. I believe you can still target the hero abilities at whoever you want.
Yes, you can.
Or spells in your hand, you can do that too.
Yep.
So it's just other minions that it affects.
Minion damage, they have to kill the taunt minion before they can target anything else. Now, if there's multiple taunt minions, which happens frequently, you can attack whichever one you want.
Exactly. But, frequently in Magic, you have this thing where basically you need to clear your opponent's board before you can attack them, right? It's very rare that that's not the case. Like maybe if you have a bunch of flyers or something. But here, frequently the strategy is, I can race you. Like, I'm just going to straight up ignore your guys. Worst case scenario, you'll run and trade them, right? And I'm just going to start attacking you to the face because it's actually better. And it's not something that I really considered in my first few games. I'm like, how do I get rid of these last few guys? And it's totally pointless to do that sometimes.
Yep. I will frequently get to a turn where it's late in the game, we're both kind of low, and I'm looking at them like, oh, there's so many guys, and I'm sweating, and I look at their health pool, and I'm just like, oh, wait.
Oh, I can kill them this turn.
I have a Pyroblast. Right? We're done. Okay, game over.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. It's very fast-paced. Loving it to death. Again, go enter every contest you can if you haven't gotten a beta key. Get in on this. Some resources you should definitely check out. Wowhead already has a Hearthstone database. It's very well fleshed out. It has links to like everything you would ever want to know
Well,
about the game.
it's Hearthstone, right?
No, I've just been using Wowhead /
They
Hearthstone.
have a sister site, which is basically how. Sorry. I'm thinking of MMO Champion. MMO Champion has a sister site called Hearthstone,
Okay.
which has all of that stuff. It's
Yeah.
excellent.
The Hearthstone subreddit has been great. They recently put up beginners frequently asked questions that has just a waterfall of great information if you're just getting into the game. And as we mentioned earlier, go read Artosis's Shaman Control Deck blog post because it's so theory crafty. I love it.
Can we? Two more points I want to bring up. One is price of cards, and
Sure.
the second. Right, I'll deal with the second in a moment. So the price of cards, we've basically been talking about it on and off, and it's kind of expensive. It's actually not that cheap, right? I mean, you can buy
2 packs for $3, but there's only 5 cards per pack.
exactly.
That's the cheapest, and then the most would be 40 packs for $50, which saves you $10 in the long run.
Right. And so eventually, like, compared to your average deck of your sort of paper Magic cards are about 25 cents a piece for each card. And for Hearthstone, they're about 30 cents a piece is what it eventually averages out to, which is, I don't know, a little steep for me personally, considering the fact that it's a digital product and there's no printing or shipping or store overhead involved at all.
And no chance of ever reselling them.
Right, exactly.
There's
another big
no
thing.
trading in the game whatsoever.
There is no value beyond what you can get.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
but-
Just be aware of it.
Yeah, well, it's the value you give it over time as well, though. I mean, sure, it's randomized, so it's a little different than a system like Dota. But when you're in that game, I mean, really, you build a lot of loyalty. You get a lot of, you're really excited about one deck or one character. And eventually, after playing 100 hours of this game, you're going to go, you know what? Damn it. Why not? I haven't paid a cent. And really, I would pay $60 for this. I'm going to buy $60 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
No,
a
I'm totally
great way
there
to
with
look
you.
at it.
Except the big issue is that, I mean, like, when you've done that and you go, oh, well, I've got 19 of the same card that I really didn't want. You know what I mean? Like, that's the problem with the randomized aspect of things.
Right, and especially say a buddy of yours is new to the game and you have 19 cards that are useless to you. You're like, it would help his newbie deck out. You can't give it to him.
Yeah.
Which
Mind
I
you-
understand a black market would open up just like in Diablo if they didn't.
Well, and sure, and do you think that's going to be stagnant? Of course, you're not going to have the same pool forever. What's going to cause a huge uptick in sales? Doing something like the Burning Legion expansion packs now
exactly.
available.
Right.
That's what I think the monks and DKs are going to be in their own little expansion, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
dude, I can't wait. And it is a little steep on price, but since it's free to play, I don't really care.
No, that's totally fine. But people just need to be aware of what the sort of, thing that they're getting into before they buy $50 worth of cards. And they go, oh, you know what? Actually, I thought there's 15 cards in a pack. And turns out that's not the case.
Well, in their defense, you do get to open a pack for free before anything happens.
Yeah, okay, that's
You
fair
can
enough.
Really like the whole tutorial. By the end of the tutorial, you have enough points to get one pack.
And the other thing that you sort of get into there, where it seems like it will cost you money, I don't actually know how much it is, but is the sort of draft portion of it, which seems pretty interesting. But
It's
you
called
actually have
the arena.
the arena, and basically you go through a series of decisions. Instead of getting like a 15-card hand where you have to choose the best card, you're given like 3. And eventually you build up an entire deck out of it. It limits the decision making quite a bit. It makes it kind of a bit easier.
Yeah, and you don't have to play it marathon style. You can play whenever you have time, and you don't.
Right. It's functionally like a ladder, right? I mean,
Yeah. It's like a buy-in ladder, and you don't get dropped out until you lose 3 games.
Although it seems like you don't get to keep the cards, and you continue to play until you lose 3 games. And I think it goes all the way up to 9 or something.
Okay.
And I think you have to win 7 to break even, which is a lot.
How do you break even if you don't get to keep the cards?
Because you get packs in return, like you get boosters in return.
Oh, so you earn boosters.
Yeah,
Okay.
you earn boosters.
That's
So
not
the
as
more
bad.
you win, the more boosters you'll get in return, essentially.
Gotcha. Still a little
So
disappointing.
if you go undefeated, you'll make a profit functionally,
Okay.
but it's extremely unlikely.
Because one of my favorite things from doing any type of Magic tournament is coming back home with my little stub deck from, like a pre-release, and then like, I really liked this, and then building on
Well,
top of it.
It makes sense in the regard of like what they brought up was like you do win packs. It's not like you don't get anything out of it, but there's a big problem in drafting, right? In Magic, where it's like, are you sitting there rare drafting? Like, are you picking cards out of the set because they're worth something to you in a different context, or you can sell them for a bunch of money and aren't actually good for your deck? Right? They said they wanted this portion of the game to be more competitive. So what they wanted to do was eliminate the need to basically go, oh, this card would be amazing in my rogue deck. I can't use it here, but I'm going to pick it just so I have it later.
Fair enough.
So what they're trying to do is make the decks as, like, you only pick cards that are actually good for you. You're not wasting your time with any of the other nonsense. You'll get a bunch of packs out of the deal, but you're not getting to keep these cards.
I'm down with that. I like that line of thinking. So.
And my very, very last point is Blizzard. Why on earth? Why? Why can I not, like, rearrange the cards in my hand? It drives me up the wall. Like, I spend all the time clicking, trying to move them, like, constantly, like, to organize them in some semblance of anything, and I can't do it. Why can I not do that? It's not difficult.
That didn't bother me at all, and you have just now destroyed my world.
Yeah,
because
sorry.
now I want it. Thanks, Ben. Way to go.
But it's such it's something that I use so frequently to organize my thoughts, and I can't do it here, and it's just annoying.
Okay. Yeah, that's all right. I would like that. That does sound like a feature I'd love added to the game. So.
I'm sure it will come at some point.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, go check out all the references we talked about. If you got a key, play the crap out of this game, and check my Twitter. I think I've been throwing my battle tag out all over the place looking for people to play. So. Twitter, you're just at Garrett Art. So cool stuff. We have even more big news to talk about. Let's get into this week's Diablo segment.
Diablo was defeated. For a time it seemed we would know peace. But it was not to be. For Diablo's essence lingers in the Black Soul Stone. I cannot destroy the stone, nor allow its evil to remain within the heavens. And so it must be hidden, even from the angels. I pray that it will be enough. You have done well, Horadrim. Your service here is finished, and you should all run. Malthael. Brother. Why? The Nephilim will stop you.
No one can stop death.
So, I don't know, guys. Are we going to try and stop death? Or is it
I
even
suspect we will.
All right.
Diablo's dead?
He's in a rock.
You know, I don't care about Diablo here. You know, I'm more excited about Blizzard All-Stars, because I want to play as that guy.
Meltdale.
Yes. So just this morning, Reaper of Souls, the expansion for Diablo 3, was announced and accompanied by that completely and totally badass trailer.
Can I just say, Blizzard, thank you very much for stealing my thunder, because I had totally predicted this weeks out as soon as we had the splash page. And, of course, no, we have to be delayed by thunderstorms, so I can't look like a genius on the show.
Yeah, Monday morning, Ben sends me, or not even last week, Ben sends me all this stuff. Dude, I found the sketch of Malthael and the stuff on the page. It's totally pointing at him. I'm calling it now, man. And I'm like, you crazy, Ben. But I'll let you talk about it on Monday's show, and Monday's show didn't happen. But I'll vouch for you, man. You totally called it. Anyways.
Well, there's a lot of clues.
Yeah. So, Malthael, the Angel of Death, or just pretty much Blizzard's version of death.
Previously, Archangel of Wisdom. And when in Lord of Destruction, when the World Stone was destroyed, he couldn't handle it. And he went a little bit crazy. And has since been wandering pandemonium on his own and has abandoned his post as the Archangel of Wisdom. And I believe that's actually what Tyrael, the sort of seat that he fills at the end of Diablo 3, am I right?
Yeah, no wonder he's pissed.
Yep.
Taking
It's my spot, man! I called it! You guys! Well, he's certainly, he used to be sort of this kind-hearted thing, but he's gotten darker and darker and darker, and he's also heavily associated with death, and he's very much the Grim Reaper here.
Yeah. What a fantastic character design.
Yep.
I love it. And hey guys, we have to make the Grim Reaper more badass. What's more badass? Hey, how about instead of one scythe, we give him 2? Give that man a raise.
I guess at least they're using like actual size that people would have used for farming, but I would kind of prefer the big two-hander.
Well, I mean, like, this has also been around, and like it's his signature weapon, right? If you look at the Angirius Council, they all have their sort of signature item that they have with them. You know, Tyrael has a sword, and Imperius has Solarian, the spear, and then
arm,
and then I think the Angel of Hope has her like cord, which is kind of like a whip, but also like a scarf. And then the guy, the knowledge guy, is he knowledge? Something like that. He's got like a scroll, like Archangel Fate, I think that's him. He's got like a scroll and he can read the future.
Getting too specific for me to confirm or deny on air.
Yep. And his are the scythes, and so it's kind of like the Ninja Turtles, basically.
Sure. And Donatello makes machines.
Right. Exactly.
A bow staff was the best weapon in the arcade game. Just putting it out there. Had the longest reach. Yeah.
So Imperius is going to win, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly it. This looks great. I'm confused by the backhanded compliments I've been seeing all over the web. Diablo 3 finally gets dark. I'm just like, did we play a different Diablo 3? Because I remember going through torture pits full of dismembered nipples.
I think they're talking dark and color palette.
Okay.
Because the big complaint was, it's so happy-go-lucky because there's a little slight bit of color going on. And from what I've seen so far of the environments here is that they are truly grim and dark. I think they've certainly nailed the dark aspect of the darkness.
Yo, dog, we heard you like dark.
Yeah, so we put some dark in your dark, and we added some gray because we wanted to suck all the color out of it. Apparently, Malthael, aside from sucking souls out of people, also drains the color out of things.
Yeah. Love the environment in that cinematic. Totally just looks like something you'd be fighting on in a game of Diablo.
And you know, no, when you hide something in Fantasyland, you always put it on a pedestal. But really, I mean, like your sock drawer, Tyrael, like the giant golden pillar is not where you're gonna keep this thing secret forever. But you know, it all comes down to the head nod, the little like puppy, like that he does. Just the nerd chills it gave me.
Yeah.
I was sold.
Yeah.
There's some.
Let's be honest here, Kyle. It's an object of pure evil, and I'm sure that those gold pieces were of angel construction. I'm sure there was a magical element to all of that. Come on, Kyle. You create
he's got
D&D
an excellent
campaigns,
point. All right, Tyrael understands that he's in the Diablo universe, right? I mean, he's been playing the same game we have, right? How many different artifacts of pure evil have been hidden away in some dungeon? Nobody will ever know. I'm sure it'll be totally safe because we can't destroy it. Like a dozen things now, like all the different soul stones and this and that, and everything's just constantly like releasing evil everywhere. Guys, it doesn't work. It's not a good plan.
Well, and he just walks up and like picks it up. I want him to take out the sandbag, judge it a little, get it off the pedestal.
Kyle's YouTube parody of the Diablo 3 trailer coming next week to YouTube. Just watch it.
But you know, Malthael has to be this omniscient bad guy. He doesn't pay attention to that stuff. He just opens the Ark of the Covenant, and he's fine. It's no big deal.
Stares right at it. That's right. The one Haradrim guy did not fare so well, though.
Right? No, those ladies were beautiful and stayed beautiful. No face melting here.
Anyways, in the Reaper of Souls, we're getting a new class, which... Guys, I'm telling you this right now. I'm going to drop my barbarian like it's hot because we're getting the Crusader, a totally like badass paladin looking dude.
Right, paladin 2.0 basically.
Who uses a flail? We get to use flails. I'm so excited.
Yep.
We get to beat things with a giant...
Very angelically oriented, like a lot of holy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Big white flowing tabards. A very shield-oriented, they said. Shield bash is a move. Hooray. I'm
sweet.
So stoked. I love shields in fantasy games. All of us have to have one. Said it's going to be mid-range and uses a new resource called Wrath.
Sweet. It's going to be like Rage, right?
I'm all in on this. I'm
slightly more biblical version of Rage.
If I have to start at level 1, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to be... joining you on your quests as soon as this comes out because I'm going to be leveling up a Crusader.
That might be too.
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Loot runs are being added to the game. It's going to be a new thing. Sounds very interesting. They said it's going to be 15 to 20 minute random dungeons with random weather and enemies and random bosses. And of course it's going to be multi-level dungeons.
Yay, a thing we can do aside from Act 3.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what they're going for here. And I believe they even said that this was going to be... Was this a thing? One of the things, I think this was it, was going to be patched in before the expansion even comes out.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a patch of the mechanic changes. That WoW has done this for a while, where they basically have a pre-patch that implements all the new mechanics, new changes, new stuff aside from the new content, right? So it seems like this will be patched with that.
Right. So it's very, very cool. But that means if you don't get the expansion, you'll still be able to do loot runs at whatever your level cap is, because the level cap is going up 10 levels. You'll be able to hit level 70.
Which is interesting because they said they wouldn't do that Unless, of course, they're just going to take all the abilities they've made and lengthen them out another 10 levels.
I believe they're adding in new abilities.
See, and that's another thing they said they'd never do.
Really?
Everything was
they said they
too balanced. When the game first came out, they said in future expansions that this is not going to happen because things are too well laid out.
Boy, were they wrong.
What? No,
First of all, not only were they not well laid out, I mean, like, that sounds like a dumb idea. That sounds like no reason to progress.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I'm glad they changed their tune on that. That is a good move.
Loot 2.0 is coming in. This basically, like, loot drops are going to be changing dramatically. They gave a
throughout the entire game, not just in the expansion part.
Yes, yeah. They gave a comparison between how items in Act 3 drop now and how they're going to drop when Reaper of Souls comes out. They said that right now, for example, in Act 3, on average, 256 white items drop, 399 blue items drop, and 275 yellow and 1 legendary items drop on average. When the expansion hits, we're going to be getting 73 white items, 266 blue, 83 yellow, and 7 legendaries. Of course, it averages.
Yeah. So, and the other thing they added in as a side note to that is that stuff that drops will be more tailored to the current class you're playing, which means that you'll actually be able to find upgrades as opposed to go, well, this is totally sweet from Monk, which I don't play, right?
Right.
So it should be more than that. And the other thing they've done is they've retooled legendaries again. And it seems like all legendaries will have a pretty big impact on the way you play the game. So the example they give, for instance, is Jawbreaker, a fist weapon from Monk, right? Mm-hmm. And aside from the usual, like, dexterity, does lightning damage, blah, 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 critical hit damage is increased by 35%. It reduces the cooldown of all skills by 4%, which is kind of major if you think about it. And additionally, when Dashing Strike hits an enemy more than 25 yards away, its spirit cost is refunded. So all of a sudden, Dashing Strike, super good, which means that, like, you're going to be changing your build around depending on what new legendaries you pick up. So it kind of promotes more build diversity because, like, optimal builds actually change now depending on the weapons available to you.
Yeah, it's crazy and sounds absolutely awesome. I'm also just happy about less amount of crap items in general.
Yeah.
That makes me kind of excited. That's not even the end of it. The Mystic is being added. He's going to be able to transmogrify items, so you don't have to sacrifice looks for power.
It's like WoW transmog, essentially.
Yeah, you look at if you have an old piece of armor that you really like, or for whatever reason you want to wear the rags that you started with, now you can. Item enchanting is also going to be available through the Mystic, which allows a reroll of one of the affixes on a rare or legendary item. So if it's close to being good for you and you want to roll the dice and be like, maybe I can get a better affix.
Yeah, and then it changes to something worse. You're like, oh, damn it.
Oh, crap. Plus 10 to
nothing.
Bug squishing. Damn it. It's no good. Level, we talked
I
about
take
the
that
level
for
cap.
yeah, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. We're going to get a new act, which is going to be taking place in Westmarch.
Yeah, it looks like a big city set.
Yes. I was reading on Joystick. It has said it's going to have a lot of secrets and things called death orbs, which don't sound very safe at all.
Excellent.
Lots of graveyards, obviously. It's a very
they showed some really cool environment stuff where, like, their transitions from inside to outside is, like, really seamless. Like, they've done tech upgrades as well. The lighting is more dynamic and it's more consistent. Like in Diablo 3, like, you go into a building and it would, like, mini loading screen and bam, you'd be there and, like, you would be in it, like, sort of its own zone. Here it seems like it's a fluid transition between them.
Very cool. The new spell effects for the Crusader are just killer, by the way. Love them.
A lot of calling on the high heavens to smite your enemies.
Yeah. There's some major changes to the Paragon system. The Paragon levels are now account-wide. You're also going to be getting Paragon points, which you can choose to spend on any of your characters for upgrades. Paragon no longer has a cap. And there's going to be stat allocation tied to this, to the Paragon point system.
Right.
So you'll be able to buff up your character specifically.
Lilira has been tweeting a bunch, and she actually clarifies one of these points, and she says, like, specifically the ones that assign stat bonuses, it seems like if you earn them on one character, you can actually apply them to a different character.
Right, the points just sit in a pool on your account, and you can spend those points on any of the characters. So, say you had
That's
5,
kinda cool.
yeah, you could put 3 on your Demon Hunter and 2 on your Barb.
Right. You can play an off class and not worry about hampering the progression too severely of your main.
Yeah, exactly. It's all wonderful quality of life changes. Laliro also, someone had said, any estimates on release date? Second or third quarter 2014, fingers crossed? To which she replied, no release date info to share right now, but that's pretty typical what that person was saying. It just says release date 2014 right now. Usually I get excited when I see a cinematic. I'm like, oh, it's almost done. But then I remember that they announced StarCraft 2 with a cinematic, and we waited a long time for that.
Granted, I mean, this doesn't seem like a giant thing.
Right.
This is probably, aside from Hearthstone, which, I mean, I'm sure it's a massive amount of work, but a tiny team. Mm-hmm. This is probably the smallest, thing they've put out in a while. What I imagine is going to be the smallest thing they put out in a while. You know, it's only 1 act, which I don't imagine is going to be hugely longer than most of the other Diablo 3 acts.
I would hope it would be, but yeah.
Yeah, I know that's kind of one of the things I've been thinking about. But sheer amount of hours that it takes to play through, I think would be not that dramatically high. But yeah, so I'm curious, and it's on a very well-established platform, and there's probably not a boatload of balancing that needs to be done like that happens with StarCraft, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was kind of, on a pretty fast track.
Yeah. Overall, though, I'm really stoked about this. It looks like it's overhauling a lot of things that I think need to be addressed, and like we already talked about, the quality of life changes are phenomenal.
Yep.
Good stuff. Head on over to DiabloFans.com if you're looking to find all of this stuff in one place. They have a great write-up with links to everything.
Some good gameplay videos, too, the Crusader.
Yes. I'm so stoked for that. I'm so excited. Are you going to be playing the Crusader, Kyle, or are you applying your same role that you do to Magic the Gathering? I don't play holy Crusader types.
Nah, what a waste of time gaining health. Now they should be dead with the giant laser.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Wizard Man. Be that way.
I want double Archon. Level 70, please.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, all the classes are getting new abilities, so double Archon with extra lasers might be a thing.
Hell yeah.
Yep. So, anyways, that about wraps it up. I'm very excited for Reaper of Souls. It needs to come out. It needs to come out soon. So, anyways, with that in mind, let's move into World of Warcraft.
It thirsts. Bring it to the pools. Enough! You have run rampant for far too long, Hellscream. But that stops now. Step aside, Pandaren. You confront a force beyond reckoning. Your father dabbled in powers beyond reckoning. Where is he now? Beside the Tauren, trolls, and others. You are nothing like them!
They are no longer part of my horde!
The world will hear of this. They will come for you.
Yes, I'm counting on it. The armies of the world will come for me. And within my fortress, they will face all the terrible creatures I have wrought. The boundless power I have mastered. And one by one, they will fall at my feet. Anyone who would rise against my new horde will be impaled upon the spires of Orgrimmar! You Pandaren tried to bury your hate and your anger, but such power cannot be contained. It must be unleashed!
A time will come when you will answer for your crimes.
I answer to no one! All who challenge me will burn in the fires of my hatred.
So, rounding out the week with Blizzard just wanting to really get out there and tell the world that they have too much badass stuff to be contained, is the 5.4 Siege of Orgrimmar trailer, which we just showed if you're watching the VOD. Dude, I need way more slow motion walking away from giant heart explosion garage in my Warcraft.
Right, that situation comes up a lot in my day-to-day life. No, if anything is highlighted here, it's holy crap, lip sync.
Oh, dude, the facial animation is phenomenal.
They're getting super good at these.
Garrosh looks absolutely insane when he's yelling. They did such a great job on him.
Yep. They're getting really, really good at these in-game style. Like, they're not actually in-game models. Like, some of them aren't. Like, it's really hard to tell. But they're getting really, really good at, like, just executing these in a way that I don't go, well, this is goofy. Like, this isn't a good cinematic. Like, now I'm going, oh, okay, you got my attention.
Yeah, exactly. This is just too damn cool. So, I mean, I think these are in-game models. These trailers, though, are obviously put together using all kinds of tools that they don't have access to in.
Oh no, I was thinking of something else. Like, but yeah, exactly. There's additional like editing that goes into it, and additional effects that are not
right. But just so damn cool. I almost want to see these things in game. Like, I hope there's a scenario where we go into and we see this happening in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms.
That would be awesome.
That would be really sweet, you know. And we get to, I don't know, help Terran Zoo fight his way to Garrosh.
Right, because he's clearly not. Everybody went, he got killed. No, he didn't. Come on, man. They would have showed him dead if he was dead. Like, he's so going to be back. He's going to, land the killing blow.
If you don't see the cheesy eye closing death scene, then a character is not dead.
In Blizzard games, I would argue if you don't see their head turn into a skull, like, it's... one of those guys in the Diablo cinematic, definitely dead. 100% dead.
All right, I got you there. I'd like to go back to that and wonder, why didn't Mathiel just kill Tyrael? But that's a question for another day in another segment.
Yeah, I think Tash is confirming that he's in the raid.
Who's in the raid?
Terrans do.
Oh, I'm sure. I believe it.
Sweet. I'm excited.
He says Gorehowl impalement was only a setback.
Basically.
I have Gorehowl on my hunter, and I couldn't be sadder that he can't equip it now. So sad. I need to go. What's that drop off of? Prince, I think. I need to go farm Prince on my pallet and get that. Damn you, chess! I can't do that. Anyways, there was a ton of pre 5.4 developer interviews that have come out over the past week. A lot of the most interesting stuff came from Tom Chilton and Ghostcrawler. Much was said on the subject of flex rating to begin with. One of the things saying that flex difficulty will open at the same pace as the normal difficulty raid, which is good and what I expected. I would have been confused and perturbed if this wasn't the case. So that's good. They said that most guilds should be able to make progress in flex difficulty. So that's good, in line with what they were saying in the past about the level of difficulty to expect from flex rating. And that they're looking at other parts of the game, like scenarios, they said might be a useful place to apply the flex scaling tech in the future, scaling from, say, 3 to 5 players. Which I would love to see. Love to go in with a proper healer and tank and not have it take 3 hours. Any other content that doesn't need very tight balance is also a good candidate for scaling. This means heroic raids are not a good candidate, so stop asking. And then the idea of scaling raids past 25 players has also been considered, say, allowing you to scale up to 30 players.
That's going to start to get really goofy.
Well, why not? I mean, if you have...
Well, because you start dealing with stuff like ground effects, like density of players suddenly matters.
But that's something they've already said is an issue they want to address, saying that they think it's an issue even in 10-man already.
Right.
So.
But, you know, like, you have to balance it very dramatically. Like, if there's a 25 version and a 10-man version, like, you've got a midpoint between the two that you can reach. Mm-hmm. You're suddenly inventing, like, wildly new difficulties that need to be balanced entirely separately if you go above. Can I say flex rating is the single thing that I'm most excited about in this new patch? Because it's, for our guild and our current raid group at least, like, we've run into a bunch of, like, scheduling problems recently. This is going to be such a great solution to all of our problems.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, frankly, like, we're a lot of people who don't have more time to raid than one night a week, and making progress on normal raids in their current difficulty was, for our skill level at least, just totally brutal, like, if we were going one night a week. So this will be sort of a welcome midpoint.
Yeah, and it sounds
I'm really looking forward to it.
Right. It sounds like Wings are coming back too when they're talking about the size of the raid. So that's going to be nice. You know, you can, like, I'm going to do this wing this week instead of having to progress in a linear fashion through the raid like we have been.
Right. Yeah, and by the way, if anybody wants to raid with us once a week or whatever, like, message the show, because for flex raids now we can, like, accept a bunch of people and it's no big deal. Nobody has to get benched.
And cross realm.
I know, that's great.
So cool, just not cross faction. Sorry, Horde players.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's expected though, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about raid and heirloom drops in these interviews as well. They said that the Siege of Orgrimmar has a little bit of branching in pass, and ideally raids in the future will have more, allowing you to skip a boss or two or do bosses in a slightly different order, confirming kind of what I was just talking about. They said that the first 3 or 4 bosses should not be too hard for most raiding guilds, so this will allow them to have bosses they can use to gear up with as they progress. So good stuff, as opposed to our raid, which just had to kill the dogs in the beginning of Mogushun over and over and over again.
Yeah, that was a fun time, huh?
Or when we first started, just wiped to it over and over again.
We had a rough combo, what can I say?
Yeah, it was no fun. On the subject of the heirlooms, they said that the first heirloom weapon that drops for you will be for your current loot spec, but after that, you will get one at random.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Very neat. So you'll just be able to take that straight on into the next expansion with you.
Right, but it could also be like a piece of hunter gear, you know what I mean, when you're on your paladin. Like, that's excellent.
Yeah. They said that the heirloom weapons are also intended to make Mists of Pandaria a little more alt-friendly, which I think we discussed kind of at length last week. They said that Thunderforged and Warforged style items are likely going to be the solution for addressing the lower popularity of 25-player raids in order to avoid making them feel mandatory. So
good solution.
Expect to see more of those in the future. Proving Grounds was talked about a little bit. They said that as long as Proving Grounds works out well, it could be used as a lower-level training environment in the future. I'd be really interested to see that.
Interesting. Sounds like skipping content for me.
Really? You think they're going to, like...
Well, why call it a lower-level training ground? Why not just a training ground then?
Do you think they mean level as an actual level, or do you think they mean like I'm a few tiers behind, or like I am a lower level player, like I've not?
I think they mean actual level, because at the moment it's going to be only max level. So it makes sense because you can tank and heal before you max out.
Oh, I get it. So this is kind of like, hey, learn to do this before you kill everyone.
Right. Although I would think that would be interesting to although it might just come down to something as simple as a percentage change on everything depending on the level.
Yeah, that's totally what it is too. Like, and there's probably a minimum requirement, like you can't go in there above level 15, which is what dungeons are, I think. That's when everybody seems to have like a basic heal or, you know, a taunt or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd love it if there was a quest chain that directed you to do this, or if you say you hit level 15 and you go to queue up for your first looking for dungeon and it says, hey, what role would you like to do? You should do this tutorial before we allow you to queue. That'd be kind of interesting too, where it kind of elegantly leads you into this training to, you know, teach you how to tank or heal correctly.
I think that might be clever.
Yeah. But Kyle, you think that they'll make this some kind of thing where you can just level up through it?
It'd be nice, most certainly. I mean, poop you out at like level 30 instead.
That could be interesting. I just hope, though, it looks like the that training room from Dragon Ball Z. Where it's just a grid that goes off into white space.
I could see potentially doing something like, here's a one-time quest for it, and it gives you a boatload of XP. It gives you a boatload of XP, and for doing the one-time quest, right? And it's kind of worthwhile. It behooves you to do that a couple of times, rather than like a. Go on.
You know what I really like is if they took the step even further and made like class-specific ones, or even spec-specific ones. Because when you change spec, oh my god, buttons everywhere, your UI is completely screwed up. It'd be real cool if you could go step by step, kill a dude, and then with that like out of your spellbook level up sort of bring flying ability onto your bar. They give you just one at a time and let you kill guys.
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
A good learning tool.
There's nothing more intimidating than switching specs to a spec you've never played on a level 90 character going, oh god, what is this spell? What?
I hate it when I go to a new computer that doesn't have like bartender installed. And I'm just like, oh my god, where did everything go?
How many classes are there in WoW? Are there 10 now?
Well, there was 9, then there's 11 with the monk, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, this would be. I could see this becoming a real pain in the ass though, because every time they change things around and remove and add things, then they have to go in and if this existed, what we're hypothetically discussing here would be a big pain to go in and retool for each spec.
It's
right, it would have to be
34 specs.
It'd be very generic.
34 specs. Oh my god! Wow.
34 specs, and then you would have different like playstyles. You know. They probably wouldn't. It would have to be extremely generic. But you know what's interesting is like you sort of like the theory crafting ends up being like sometimes the most optimal thing to do is not necessarily what they intended the rotation to be. So it's kind of it'll be interesting to see the thing there. But like yeah, I agree. So some more like hand holding. Mm-hmm. Would be nice for newer players, I think, rather than you know being told go look it up on the internet. It's all out there. Don't worry about it.
Yes, which is the case now.
Yeah, it'd be nice if that was integrated somehow.
Yeah, they even went on to say that Proving Grounds could be used to replace item level as the gating requirement for Raid Finder or other things that use matchmaking. So I would love to see that. I really would. Like,
that's fascinating.
You must get an A on your report card before you can.
Well, yeah, but I mean, think about it. Like, so let's say you do the DPS one, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to have to kill X amount of things in X amount of time. So there's a basic DPS requirement, and this is a way for them to test it.
Oh, not even that. Just something as simple as, you know, run from the tornadoes, don't stand in the acid. Like, I would really love if I had almost a snapshot of a Raid Finder boss that I'm about to do, because, frankly, my progression has suffered because I don't want to give the time to look up every boss so I don't look like a nub. Even though, I mean, yeah, the looking for raid It's really generic. You don't take any damage really when you screw up. But I kind of want to look good. You know, I don't want to get caught in the tornado and carried back to the beginning.
I will say, well, yeah. Although, I mean, I've done that in for real raids so many times, it's not even funny. And I knew exactly how the mechanic worked. It wasn't even a matter of that. I feel with Raid Finder, they've made it increasingly more. They've made it so that there's a really strong visual indication for what's going on. There's been very few times in recent memory where I've gone, I don't understand the mechanic of what's happening. All right? They make it kind of obvious. Like, it used to be like, oh, this secret thing happens, and if you're not standing next to another person when it goes down, like, you're in huge trouble. Now, they've made it increasingly less like that, right? It's a lot more forgiving, like you said, Kyle. But it's also like you can sort of intuit what's going down. You can go, oh, I probably shouldn't be standing in those things, or like, oh, I see everybody else is grouping up in that. Like, I'm doing way more damage when I'm standing in this stuff. I should probably do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I like knowing what I know now about Throne of Thunder, for instance. I would be happy throwing most people in there for their first time, unless they're like a tank, and telling them, don't worry about it, just go through it. You'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So I think it's much less of an issue than it used to be.
I'll give you that. Right. Of course, I don't know. It depends, because I feel like it's still tough for tanks out there.
Oh yeah, for tanks it's absolutely brutal. But there's only 2 of them per raid, and I feel like they can. I feel like tanking is something that can afford to require a higher skill level because there's so much fewer of them in demand.
Well, and you instantly get to queue for things. There's a lot of special perks you get to putting forth that extra effort.
Right, but it's also totally your fault if something bad happens. Just FYI.
Oh yeah, and what Ben just said was the nicest way you'll ever hear it from anyone in a raid finder. Yep. Usually they'll call into question the dignity of your mother. So.
But I think I think with the different like gear overlaps that are happening now, how like even as a pally tank, right? You have such a strong overlap with ret gear now because haste is so good for tanks. Like, you could easily queue as a ret player to kind of get a feel for it before you went in as a tank. Unless you're a super confident tank already, in which case, leap right in, learn with the rest of them, right?
Yep, which is what I did, and then I ended up just getting a lot of good ret stuff, so I've been sticking with ret.
I hear it's a lot better now.
It's way more fun than it used to be. I will give you
that. That's not very hard. It used to be very not fun.
It wasn't like it was like awful. It was just boring.
Yeah.
And
it was like driving a train. It's like, which way will I turn? I don't know. What the engineer do in 5 miles?
Yeah. In the 25-man during Wrath of the Lich King, I was the sometimes third tank. So all the other times I was just redding it up, and I was just like, man, I've got nice numbers, but I'm falling asleep at the keyboard.
Dude, BC, man, you didn't even get your judgments until like level 15? There was nothing to do but hit people with sticks.
Oh, leveling was awful, because you didn't get Crusader Strike until 40, I believe, in the early days, and it was just, leveling was a nightmare. But anyways... they said that there will be some kind of content and event between now and the next expansion, but that hasn't been determined yet, like what it is. So we will have something else. Go nuts guessing.
Yeah, some sort of thing. It's not going to be a raid.
Right. So I'll be curious to see what that. I hope we get our Dota Battleground. That I don't think we'll ever actually get.
No. That's not happening.
No.
But I want it, man. I want it.
Here's this thing that's way more involved than any raid they'll ever make.
Bring on the disease, I say. Let's do it again.
All right, well, just bring back Wintergrass, because it's still the most fun I think I've ever had in the game, and it's pointless.
Yeah,
it's so sad. I went in there and did it with one other guy against one other horde. So it was 2-on-1, just so I could get a PvP belt for a transmog set. That was interesting. Running around trying to find the one guy capping stuff. Anyway, there's a ton more tidbits of information posted. MMO Champion has a great rundown of everything interesting said by anyone over the past week. So go check that out. And interviews are still coming out. So Good stuff. Can't wait for 5.4. On the subject of 5.4, a Timeless Isle blog post was put out this past week, kind of expanding upon the Timeless Isle even more. Most importantly, the clarification on the sensor of Eternal Agony, which kind of confused all of us last week. They said that using the sensor will flag you for PvP to everyone, including your own faction. Your skin takes on a bright flame effect, showing all around that you've summoned the Rage of Ordos and are out for blood. Using the sensor also immediately reduces your health to 10% of its maximum, which you can then heal back up over time, keeping it from becoming a quick ganking device. On PvE realms, the rules of flagging still apply. It won't become open warfare, but players can choose to engage these flagged players if they like. On PvP realms, though, this menacing new threat will certainly be a target for both factions. Finally, when you kill other players while you're under the effect of the sensor, you'll gain bloody coins, a currency that can be exchanged for exclusive rewards.
Cool. So it looks like the 10% health pool is basically a tool that prevents you from like popping the sensor right next to somebody and blowing them up immediately, right?
Exactly. You want to go pop it in private, heal yourself up, and then engage.
Exactly.
Always pop in private.
Always pop in private. Oh, that's great. And there's other tidbits in here that you can check out. But that was the one that I really wanted to spotlight.
This looks fun. This looks like a bunch of stuff to do, like raid bosses and things and stuff, and yeah. I'm looking forward to hanging out on the Timeless Isle. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. I'll see you there, and then I'm gonna pop not in private and blow you up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pop in public. Yeah. So, anyways, that wraps up World of Warcraft.
Also, one thing real quick, it's been confirmed the patch release date is September 10th.
Oh, wonderful. So start saving up your Valor, everyone.
Well, debatable, because I've been looking and they don't have a new Valor vendor, and I'm not entirely sure what you're meant to be doing with your Valor, and we'll see. I don't know what's going on, basically, is what I'm saying with Valor stuff.
Well, for your alts, because the stuff that currently exists is going to get cheaper.
True. Yeah. Well, certainly did for your alts.
That was kind of the point I was
Sorry, making. I thought you meant on your main characters, because it will transfer over. Like, they're not going to reset it to Justice.
Right.
But I don't know what you'll have to spend it on, so we'll see.
Yeah, if you have alts, though. Get it done. So, anyways, let's talk some StarCraft. All right, tuck in, guys, because the WCS Season 2 Finals are this weekend. That's the Everything Finals. The best players from all three regions are coming together to see who the best Korean is, regardless of region.
Sad, but well said. No, we've got two competitors. And by that, I mean two.
Scarlet and Grubby. One of them being one of only two Zerg players.
And Naniwa.
And Naniwa.
And Wellmoo.
No one likes him. No one likes Naniwa.
That's all right. Where's Wellmoo from?
Finland.
Is he Finland? Okay. And Jim is Chinese, right?
Jim is Chinese, and he's also disqualified.
Yeah. Well,
because he could not get a visa.
I don't think that's a disqualification. I think that's I'm sorry, guys, I couldn't show up.
Well, it's the same effect.
I know, but it sounds like it's like he cheated or something. That's certainly the impression I want to give people.
I was getting to it. Yes, he could not secure a visa to attend the Season 2 finals, so he's not playing in them. The groups have been announced. They are up. It is a kind of a cornucopia of Protoss players.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of Protoss. Group A is 3 Protoss and poor J-Dong left there to defend the glory of the Zerg.
That's kind of a dangerous group.
Yeah, MC, Rain.
Okay, let's be honest. They're all dangerous groups.
As they should be.
Yeah.
I mean, just listen to the dog in the background. I can't believe these groups.
I'm sorry.
It's going nuts. Group B, hard one to decide who I want to root for. We've got Pult, Grubby, Bomber, and First all competing.
Oh, man, I know.
I love everyone.
Me too.
First probably falls the lowest, and it's not because I dislike him.
Yeah, it's just not quite as charismatic.
It's like you're required by law to root for Grubby. And then Pult has always been one of my favorite Terrans, and Bomber has just had such a phenomenal comeback that I'd love to see him do well.
I mean, Bomber's a personality. Like, Pult and Bomber are both personalities, right? Yeah. I mean, like, there's a lot of flair. Like, as far as Koreans go, there's a lot of flair there. And I have to mention, too, I mean, there is a foreigner. Oh, my God, I'm so sorry.
Wow.
They go like ballistic in the storm, like they're not happy.
Oh my god. Oh, there's nothing we can do about that, folks. I'm sorry.
I'm very sorry.
Actually, I'm going to make an edit right here so the podcast version hopefully doesn't have to hear that. Turning the recording back on and continuing. Group C, we've got Duck Duck, the underdog winner of WCS Season 2 Europe. Innovation, Teja, and Naniwa. I'm rooting for everyone but Naniwa in that group.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a big Innovation fan.
Yeah,
I'm very happy when he does well.
He's just so good. It's a joy to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he's buckled under pressure a little bit recently. You know what I mean, against players like Maru.
But specifically Maru, who knocked him out and stole his place in the finals. So, and then won the finals. So Maru's
all fairness, it was
obviously proven that
a worthy victory.
You're right, exactly.
And you know what? There's at least one foreigner in each group. So it's hard to at least they're represented in each group.
Yes. Yeah. So hopefully some of them can make it through. Teja, I just always root for Teja. Is my favorite Team Liquid player.
Yeah.
And then Group 2, we've got Maru, MMA, and Scarlet. Would have had Jim, but he didn't get his visa.
Who do you think gets out of that group? I think Alive is taking his place. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Who do you think gets out of that group?
Well, Maru looks so good. MMA,
Is it two people get out of the group, right?
Yes. Yeah. We move on to the round of.
Let's be fair here. If this happened last weekend or the weekend before, we could easily name who's going to win this. But we've had 2 solid weeks of no StarCraft almost, and these guys have been prepping nonstop. It's anyone's game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see Maru and Scarlet coming out of there.
I want Scarlet's definitely who I'm rooting for.
Yeah, me too.
Overall,
definitely.
actually, but
Scarlet and MMA are teammates. They probably practice together all the time. Like they have a great deal of healthy respect for each other. It'll be interesting to see how it goes down. But they're also like super intimately familiar with each other's playstyles, so it'll be a team match. You know what I mean? It's not gonna be. It'll be one of those weird ones.
Well,
if they play, right?
If you talk to pro players, one of the most common misconceptions they'll say exists is that teammates practice with each other a lot.
Huh. Interesting.
So there's actually really.
But I for some reason in the back of my head, I think specifically they've stated that they practice together a lot. So
if that's the case, that would explain why Scarlet. I mean, Scarlet's a damn good player. She does really well.
And MMA recently has been doing really well too, so it's kind of.
He's also a former GSL champion.
Yeah, I know, but he's done horribly in the meantime. There's been plenty of ups and downs.
But a lot of people have and haven't come back from it. Poor Marine King, but MMA has been kind of steadily getting back on the horse. I got to see that kid win.
Yeah. Who do you think
good player.
Is going to be in the finals?
It's so hard to call because everyone is so damn good, but. I don't know, man.
A Protoss and a Terran.
I'm actually leaning. There's so many strong Terran. I wouldn't be surprised if it was TVT. I could see it very easily becoming Maru versus Bomber, or Innovation versus Bomber, or Innovation versus Maru.
Polt, man, that guy's been on a tear.
Polt has been on a tear. Teja just won Asus ROG for the 2nd year in a row. So this is so damn hard to call.
And let's be real. Like MC in a live tournament, never ever underestimate him.
He's a horrifying man.
Yeah,
he has more builds than anyone, and he executes them very, very well.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody relish sort of a LAN that kind of pressure more than him.
He's like, yes, your anguish, it sustains me.
Yeah, exactly. Your pressure feeds me.
Yeah, this is what's really wonderful about the WCS. When it boils down to the finals, it's wonderful. One of the things that you talk to anyone who's really passionate about StarCraft esports, if you're trying to explain this to someone new, storylines, like the reasons to care about players, is one of the big things that always comes up. Like, this is why you should care about this guy. And every single person in these 4 groups, it has a great backstory, has earned their place, and there's a reason to root for each and every one of them. Yep.
And also, just for the record, in the endless argument of Koreans versus foreigners, can I just say that I think in my book, Polt has sort of almost foreigner status.
He damn near does. He's going to school in America and kicking trash in the meantime as well.
Yep.
And he's damn charismatic. He's
Yep.
so
He's so
charismatic.
This stream is hilarious.
Yeah.
Somebody like cheeses him, and he's like, does this guy think this works on me? Like, I don't understand. He's genuinely confused.
Does this guy know what he's doing? What is this?
Does he understand who I am?
Well, maybe that's why. He's just like, oh crap, it's Bolt. Well, I'm just going to cheese and see what happens.
Yeah, bad idea.
So, anyways, check it. Just absolutely go check it out. It's gonna be great. In other news this week, or breaking news actually, the balanced testing map is up, and there's some changes that we weren't expecting. Well, specifically one to an Ultralisk. Kyle, take it away.
Yes. So the Viper thing didn't work out. And I talked about that on StarCraft or StarCast last week, but basically, ultimately, flying out of your egg, eating on a building for a bit, and getting that energy gave about 50 seconds of build time to the Viper. So taking that away screwed up every single build order there was out there that involved the Viper, made that Viper show up 50 seconds earlier. And in a 30-minute game, 50 seconds is a huge deal. So they scrapped that and are instead going with something really interesting, almost an A move to win situation. They're hoping for anyway, for a buff, with the Ultralisk getting an extra 50 hit points.
So I think this is... What kind of change do you think this is? Do you think this is a TVZ change?
Oh, most certainly.
Right, this is... you can walk through Widow Mines without instantly dying.
Exactly, and the parade pushes, because that's what the Ultralisk is going to be able to push back.
Yep. So
are you going to start parading Ultras, Kyle? Is that what you're going to do?
They don't quite pop out the same rate as Marines, as much as I'd love that.
Right.
But certainly push them back. And the main idea is that the Ultralisk can be used effectively to help the balance because you just let it go. And if people are running away from it, it's got enough health to just kind of take that while you're getting busy with other things like casting your Vipers and micromanaging other things. With the Ultralisk, it doesn't have the burrow spell anymore. Just let it go.
Yeah, and this is going to be exponentially better with every Ultralisk you have.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm all for this. I love the Ultra. I don't think it gets used enough. Anything that just makes people make more Ultralisks is an interesting change in my book as a professional spectator.
Yep.
So I'm all for this. The armory change with the vehicle and ship weapon upgrades being rolled into one, and the Overseer speed buff after the upgrade did make it into as well. These were what we talked about last week.
Sure, and it's a lot faster, and I've tried this guy out, and he keeps up with the Mutalisk really well.
You mean it didn't completely break your game like you thought it would last week? Sorry, that was the Viper thing. I'm sorry.
Yes, that was the Viper thing. No, my complaint was that
I'm ripping on you for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, well, and I was ripping on the pros last week for saying, oh no, I have to learn how to use a better unit.
Right.
Which you could say about any change ever to this game. Like, but
well,
I
one
know
interesting
how it works.
Is this the Overseer that you're talking about?
Yeah, Overseer.
Right. I mean, the interesting thing that I heard was, in those engagements where it's the back and forth thing, it's not so much that the Overseer can't get up there in time, it's that when you retreat, the Overseers always lag behind and get picked off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it. And also, notably, the Ultra change allows it to soak one extra Widow Mine hit, I believe, is what the math breaks down to.
That's a big change.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
That is nice.
So you can actually eat 4 hits without dying, I think.
Great.
I just want to see some battle cruisers, man. And that's why I'm excited about this armor.
Yes. We need to promote battle cruisers. I know, we'll buff Ultras.
But seriously, is there anything that could take Thor battle cruiser if it actually could get to a point where you had enough Thors and enough battle cruisers to do it? There's no downside.
Guys,
mobility.
25-minute, no rush.
Complete and utter lack of
I'm
mobility.
going to need at least 8 bases. Oh, that's cool.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, you just stay one step ahead of them. I mean, you can plant bases faster than they can take them out.
Yeah, there you go.
So, that'd be interesting. But, yeah. So, anyways, go out there and test this map, give Blizzard feedback, and you'll use it as intended. So that was a big, fat, full episode of This Week in Blizz, and that brings us to the end of the show. This Week in Blizz is a production of amove.tv. You can see more about the show over at thisweekinblizz.com, and you can email us at thisweekinblizz@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys. We want to hear what you guys think about Hearthstone, what you think about the new Diablo expansion, how you're preparing for 5.4. Send all of that feedback to thisweekinblizz@gmail.com, and we'll put it on the show. We record live every Monday night, except for this last Monday, at 8 p.m. Eastern on amove.tv/live. You can follow us on Twitter at thisweekinblizz. I'm at Garrett Art. Kyle is at Kyle Ferguson, and Ben is at Pixel Garbage. And you can check out nomoonart.com for my graphic design work. If you need a freelance graphic designer, Twitch designs, tournament stuff, or a logo, check it out, nomoonart.com. Kyle, where can people find you?
You can also find me at Biggest Fan Podcast, where we followed the fad that's driving you mad. And this past week, we drank a lot of soda, and that was an experience. You got to listen to the show, though, because at the end, the face-off was a blind test tasting by me, who doesn't drink any soda, nor knows the previous taste of said sodas, doing a Pepsi versus Coke.
Oh, I just want to ask you what you picked.
I just teased that out. I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, please.
All right, you'll tell me after I turn off the record.
Sure, I guess so.
Is your mouth raw?
Raw? No, but I did not feel so hot after drinking sugar water in a hot studio room for an hour and a half.
I can imagine.
You know what? I believe you. I don't feel so hot if I have like half a soda. So,
Ben, did you ever, as a child, get in from doing chores and just like, instead of going for water, you would go for the soda and chug it down and have no consequences? Because I used to do that, and that is so not something I can do anymore.
Not so much, but I definitely understand what you're talking about. Like the whole, like if I have a soda now in the middle of the afternoon, which I don't do very often, but if I do, it's like 20 minutes later, it's like I have a hangover. Like I don't understand what's going on.
I usually have one a day, and usually in the morning, especially when it's hot during the summer because it's too damn hot for coffee. But yeah, I've been trying to quit it. It's like quitting smoking, man. I can't quit soda. It's hard. Yeah. And then there's Mr. Kyle with his wussy mouth that just lets him stay ahead of the curve.
You see what that is, Kyle? That's an evolutionary benefit.
Right? Succeeding.
Very cool. This wussy mouth discussion was brought to you by our sponsors, doghousesystems.com and tweakedaudio.com. Our code is TWIB. That's TWIB. Use that code and you will get double memory on your next Doghouse System gaming rig from doghousesystems.com. And that same code will get you 30% off and free shipping on your order from tweakedaudio.com. That's TWEAKED audio.com. They make noise-reducing earbuds. Check them out. We thank them for their support. And we'll see you all next week after we've played way too much Hearthstone on episode 68 of This Week in Blizz. Have a good one.